Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and another Tarkov video. Of course, you've clicked on it, you already know that, but we're going to talk about barters here. That's what this whole video is about, is how to save money with barters. And the importance of saving money is as simple as it sounds. It's money you don't have to spend. So what this does is it makes your bank account grow a little bit bigger because you're spending less to go into raid and use money on kits. And a lot of places where people can save money, they don't realize. So we're going to go through some of the barters, especially ones that changed with patch 13, and show you everything out there so you're not missing out on the barters. Now I'm going to do my best to get through these as fast as possible and not drag it out. We're just going to go trader by trader. I'm going to walk you through. I'm not going to go over every barter, obviously. I'm just going to highlight ones that I think you might be missing or you didn't even know about. So first up, let's jump into Prapor. Let's take a look at what he's got and what he has to offer. The first one I want to talk about, and I talk about it in all my barter videos over the years, is fuel. Now, the reason this one is important is because if you're using your hideout, you're burning fuel. And real quick, we'll just go look at some prices. 167,000 from Jaeger, 170 to 190,000 depending on the wipe. Sometimes you'll see it under 160. I get you. Point being is this barter will save you anywhere from 20, 40, maybe 50 or 60,000 each time you do it, depending on where you get your propane and your fuel conditioners. Now, if you die, let's say you go into raid and you find a fuel conditioner. For me, I'll take a CMS out. And if I have a fuel conditioner, I'll put it right there. Now, if I die, it's not found in raid, obviously, and it's only worth 38,000 rubles. So we'll round up. We'll just say 39, 40,000 for argument's sake. When we're in Prapor and we're doing that, you need two of those. So let's just say 80,000 to make the number even. In order to be less than the buy of the fuel, you have to get your propanes for 40 or less. Now, right now, they're kind of expensive. You'll see them push 39, 40, 45, 50 as people are doing other barters that use these. But very often, right there, you can see it. You can get them for under 30,000, even pushing 25. So I'm going to buy these two right here real quick. And then let's go look at the fuel conditioners. And sometimes you can get them cheap. They're kind of expensive right now. I'm not going to buy these at this price, but you can very regularly find them for 40, 42, even sometimes that 38 price. Snatch them up, do the barter, and now all in, if you're getting your fuel for 30 and your fuel conditioners for 40, you're 140,000 for a fuel. That saves you money right there. And that's what the rest of this video is going to be like, because I'm going to go through that. I won't dive into the details. I wanted to set the ground point a little bit, but you'll just have to take my word for on some of the prices as we go through them. I won't get into the detail to save time. The next one I want to talk about is grenades. This isn't necessarily about saving money, but at Prapor 1, you can't buy grenades. And until you're 15, you can't buy them off the flea market. And you'll find these ES lamps all over the place. So it's an excellent source of grenades at lower levels. And then at some points in the wipe, these grenades will get very expensive. And sometimes they're cheaper, so you can get ES lamps. Or it's just a way to get them after, if you buy up your 3 from Prapor and they're pushing the same price as an ES lamp, or you have non-found and raid ES lamps for whatever reason, there you go. It's a great place to use them. Also, the Tri-Zip is another place I use the ES lamp barter as well. Now, the last stuff we're going to talk about isn't necessarily one specific, but it is the ammos. And you can see these are already running out. The BS and this BT barter are already almost out. 108 left, 271. I'll refresh. They're probably even going to be less. As they run down, they will run out every reset. It just happens because they're really good barters. It's an excellent source of some really good 5.45 ammo. So if you're using 5.45 AKs, keep in mind that you have 2 BT barters, a BS barter, and then a BP barter even that isn't as good because you can buy it. And then on top of that, you have BP and SPP, which are just great trains of rounds, great penetration, and they hit really hard. And the barters aren't too bad. You got a strike cigarette here and 2 blue tapes for really high-end ammo you can't necessarily buy. I mean, you can buy it off Prapor. After you do some tasks, I believe you can buy SPP. You can't buy BP. But all these barters, you're talking defuels, food, Marlboros, and hot rods. And that's something to keep in mind, that anytime you see barters that I'm talking about here, the items are going to be worthwhile too. Marlboros, as you can see, a lot of people don't realize it, they're worth a bunch of money. So even if you're not using the barters, you keep this stuff in mind, you know what you can keep in raid to sell for a little bit more money. Now, moving on from here, we'll go on to therapist. Now, the importance of therapist is the money we all spend. The two biggest sinks every raid that people don't even think about is ammo and meds, especially when you die and those meds go away or you're using them up. You're just burning through rubles. So I'm always looking for ways to save money. Now, Grizzlies, Favorite med to use. I love them because I don't have to worry about splints. I don't have to worry about light bleeds. And if my hemostat runs out, I can still stop a heavy bleed. And if I get tons of damage, I've had raids where I've had to heal 600, 700, 800 damage. And you're not going to do that, obviously, without finding more meds. Usually you don't have to think about it. And with this barter, you're only spending anywhere from usually about 25, but maybe 30,000 rubles. So right now, like 22. If I bought that gas analyzer right there, we buy those 2 up, come in, buy our 2 UV lamps real quick. And, we're talking 10K. So we're 23, 25K for both of those grizzlies. And sometimes they're that cheap, but a lot of times they're like 34, 35,000. So it's just a little bit cheaper. And that's pretty close to the same price you're spending on a Salewa or an IFAC or anything like that. Unless you're doing the Salewa barter, which is the next one we'll talk about. Now, this disappeared at the start of the wipe for a little bit, but they put it back in. So you can get a Salewa for paid. You can do 1 per reset. Paids are usually like 10, 12, 13, 14K. So that's cheaper than the Salewa. Salewas are what, 25, 24. Sometimes they push 30. But the other one is for a emergency water ration. Again, a little bit cheaper. You can do 2 of these each reset. And these run anywhere from 16 to 18K. So there's another source of meds that'll save you a little bit of money each time you do it. Now, the next one is a replacement for the med case. This med case costs, I don't know, 200K, 300K, kind of depends on what you get your components at, right? Kind of expensive. If you want to buy it off the flea, it's even more expensive, 500, 600K. But this med bag, if you look, it has 48 slots. That is 1 slot less than the med case. And it doesn't take up that much extra room. It takes up 2 extra 2x4, so 8 extra slots. And the barter is dirt cheap. Now, sometimes you can even buy these really cheap on the fleet. You can buy them 118, 120K. But with, let's say you use up surf kits, you can use 1 out of 12 surf kits. These right here, these are 1 out of 6 Vaselines, 3 meds, 2 augmentins. So you're 30, 60, let's call it 80, 90K if you want to count any price in these at all, even though you can use ones up. I don't even have a med case. I should probably have one, but all the found and raid ones I've sold, and I've just been using med bag the whole time. So just keep that in mind. It is a great case like item that you can use for meds, just like a med case, but costs a third less than the barter, or even a tenth of what it would cost you to buy it off the flea market. Now, just kind of like we talked about all the ammo on Prapor, I just want to do a quick run over of the keys. A lot of people don't realize Therapist has keys on her. I forgot to mention the med case. Let me jump back here real quick. That's on level 3 Therapist. I skipped over that. I wanted to point that out to you guys that's where that at. But keys. So 220 Tarkov Director's Office key. She's got 2 barters for those at different loyalty levels. The 206 key for Project Aquarius. 303 key, 221 key, the Kib outer door key, which isn't for quests, and the RBAK key. All of these are available for barter. So you can buy the stuff, you can get the key. So it's one less thing that can lock you behind RNG. So just keep that in mind, looking for those on Therapist for some of the lower level quests if you get hung up. Now, obviously, we skip over Fence because he doesn't have any barters. We'll go look at Skier, and he's kind of a weird guy. He doesn't have a lot of great barters, but there's some worth mentioning. And people might scoff at this, but I want to point out this Zuck 3 press armor. This is a level 3 armor. It's ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, which means it repairs fantastic. It's the best repairing material in the game. It's good durability. It's 50 durability. Yes, it's only class 3, but if you're low level, you're loyalty level 1, skiers, so you don't have the flea market yet, you don't have access to good armor, or you just want cheap armor. This is a horse, which is 10 to 15K, and a pon hat, which sometimes they don't show up, but you find them all over the maps. This gets you access to armor that you might not otherwise have at level 1. So keep that in mind that it's here, and it is a good armor. You're almost always going to get it back from insurance. You can repair it, and it just makes sure it runs that much cheaper, and it'll protect you from shotgun scabs and things like that. Now, after that is probably turned into one of people's favorite barters, and that's on Skier 2, and that is the RFB. You can get yourself into an RFB for like 30K, maybe 35K, depending on what gas analyzers are going at. But this is a 7.62x51 weapon. And now with BCP FMJ being 35 or 36 pen, this is not something to joke about. You will absolutely hammer people with one of these now, and it gives you access to it at a relatively low level. The thing is you just got to be able to get your BCP FMJ off of Jaeger, which I believe it's loyalty level 2. You can just buy it off of him there, or the flea market. It's still buyable on the flea market for kind of expensive, but it's kind of like a baby M80 now. So that RFB is definitely something to worth looking into. After that is the Voodoo site. Just to point it out, a lot of people might not know it's here, and it has changed. This used to be, I believe, a or am I thinking? No, I'm thinking of this one. Never mind. It is 2 GPXs. So your 2 G Phone X's, you're going to pay 35, 40, maybe 45K for these. So 90K worst case. You're going to get this at loyalty level 3 skier, but versus paying what you pay on the flea market for these, where you're pushing, it's cheap right now, but these regularly go over 100K. So if you're doing Voodoos, make sure you look for this, because it's cheaper to do it here most of the time than it is on the flea market. And the last one I want to bring up is on 3 skier as well, and it's fuel. This is a new barter with patch 13, and it's beer. So beer sells for 25, 26, 27K, which means that for 6 of these, you're 150K, a little bit cheaper, but not a lot. But if you get beer out of non-found and raid, or maybe you're crafting it or whatever, maybe you see beer for sale for 20K, it's another source of fuel that is cheaper than paying Jaeger for it or buying it off the flea. But that's pretty much it. I want to talk about skier PeaceKeeper. He's kind of a weird guy, like skier is, with there's not a lot of great barters here, but there's some to point out if they fit your specific play style and can get things a little bit cheaper from you. The first is going to be the ump, low level, loyalty level 1. This is one of the most powerful weapons you can get at low levels, especially before you have the flea. Keep your knives. Find these, the black Damascus knives, and then the ER bayonets. You find these all over on scavs. Keep them and get yourself an ump. And because you can buy the mags. The mags you don't need to barter for, and you can buy the ammo. All of those you can buy right at loyalty level 1 PeaceKeeper, and have a very powerful weapon right away with him. After that is the day pack. Now this, with the weight changes, this lost some of its value. One of the best things about the day pack is how light it was. But with the weight strength, the weight changes and how much strength affects that, it's not as valuable as it used to be, but it still is gonna help keep you light if you're running some heavier kits. Plus it's cheaper. You can find hard drives and DVDs on almost every run for probably, they're 10K a piece. If you have them on the flea, which it's just a little bit cheaper way to get a backpack. I want to point out to folks at loyalty level 1 before they have their flea market. And then with that, the next ones we're going to talk about are simply weapons. Now, this barter is kind of something you got to watch, or maybe you get your stuff out of raid, and it also depends on what M4s are selling for. Right now, they're cheap. They're 65K, but they will push 80, 90K. And if they're doing that, this barter is one of the cheaper ways to get an M4 besides buying just the base level from, I think Mechanic sells if I'm buying M4s, I usually buy them off of Mechanic here, just the straight gun, this piece right here, because it's 20,000, it's cheaper. But if you're looking to get an M4, whether you're modding it, whatever, this is one of the cheaper ways to get it, is off of PeaceKeeper with this barter. Along with that, the higher end barter is on PeaceKeeper 3, and it's the G28. Now, right now, this barter isn't really worth it, simply because I can't even look up the key card because I don't have it ID'd yet. In fact, let's go look it up real quick. That key card is probably about 350K, I think, give or take. Yeah, so 350, 400K, not really worth it. But you will see later in the wipe, these key cards come down to like 250, 260. They will get cheaper. And when they're around that is a fantastic way to get this G28, because you can take a couple of parts and you can make it meta. And otherwise, to get this, the only other way you can get a G28 right now that I can get, and maybe there's some other stuff out there that I'm not aware of, but it's basically on Jaeger. And it costs 297,000. And yeah, he comes with a suppressor and some other stuff. So say you're 200,000 to get this, 250. I don't know anyone else to get a G28 other than that key card. So I wanted to point that out. Something people not realizing. The G28 is kind of a cool gun. It's a favorite of a lot of folks that run DMRs, and it's something new to run over like an M1A or whatever. You got something along those lines. Now, moving on to Mechanic. Real quick, just a shout out. I have a whole Gunsmith series guide. That's not what this is about. Almost all of these barters at the top of the screen, these parts are for Gunsmith. So if you're going through your Gunsmith and you're having a hard time, it calls out a GL Butch stock and they're really expensive. Or, like one of my favorite is this 4 stock on the MP133. They sell for 30 or 40 or even more expensive, depends on the wipe. All of these pieces are available for barters on the flea market, or on Mechanic. The MOE stock, all of this stuff you'll be much cheaper getting it as barters on Mechanic than buying it on the flea market. So make sure you're looking at that when you're going through your Gunsmith tasks. It will save you a bunch of money. But aside from that, let's mention the Wi-Fi camera. This is new, this wipe with patch 13. The Wi-Fi camera, pretty cheap barter. Usually about 35K, sometimes a little more expensive. It depends on what power banks and stuff are doing. But the reason this barter is important is for crafting nixers. You can actually make decent money in your hideout crafting nixers using that camera versus buying the camera, which can cost a ton of money. Let me go find the craft. It's in here somewhere. Right here. So you got to use a camera. It'll give you 2 nixers, which you need for various barters or dailies or your hideout level, your security upgrade. But these cameras can sell for a lot because people don't pay attention to the barter. You can see these things are going for like 200K. And because you don't get the ability to buy the camera until you get to a certain task with skier. And even at 339 euros, you know, you're pushing 45K, I think, roughly. That's kind of roughly the conversion right there with that. So you're cheaper with the barter. So that's just there. Something people might not know is there yet. Wanted to point that out new with this wipe, kind of a cool barter they added. After that is the VOG 17. Just like on Prapor, you have a barter, but these things cost what, 15, 20, sometimes 25K for one of these quick fuse grenades, you know, 3-second fuse to blow up really fast. Good for trying to kill people or scavs with grenades if you have a task like that. But the barter is super cheap because you can get fuses for like 8, 9, 10K. So you can get these for less than your other grenades usually, and they're a little bit more effective. The explosive radius isn't that big, but with the short fuse, you don't have to worry about them running away. After that is a barter that I want to point out specifically for a couple of tasks that require to use M4s. And we all know what it's like. You have to go kill something with an M4 wearing blueberry class 3 armor, and it sucks. Scavs kill you, players smoke you because you stand out, and you're losing M4s, right? Well, this LVOA barter, and I believe it is on level 3 mechanic, so level 30, allows you to get a near meta M4 for like 120, 140, maybe 150,000 rubles. And the reason I say near meta is because not only is the handguard pretty good, it's not the best, but it's pretty good. It gives you a MER-1S upper, Raptor charging handle, the MK12, a decent grip. All of this stuff is pretty expensive. The MER-1S, even if you have it unlocked, which I don't, is near on 40K, but you're spending 80K just for that upper. So even if you're trying to build budget M4s, 130K gets you really close to it. But if you're building meta M4s, this gets you some of the most expensive parts. I won't even go and buy the extra stuff. I'll just kit this out the rest of the way for like another 50, 60K to get the suppressor and a different stock, and maybe, you know, not counting the optics, that's always higher, but it's just a cheap way to get an M4. It's a great little barter. It's unlimited, so you don't have to worry about peaking it out with or capping it out with mechanic when you're going through it, and you can just keep doing this over and over again, and it's not as painful when you lose it. Now, next up on mechanic is going to be the weapon case, and there's 2 barters, but I want to talk about these specifically. I'm clicking around too much because I get a lot of questions about this. A lot of people just say the best thing to do is the 10 Bitcoins. I can't disagree more. Now, if you're never going to get to loyalty level 4 mechanic, which is where this, loyalty level 3 mechanic, then sure. You get this at 2, you can get a weapon case with 10 Bitcoins, but this right now, Bitcoins are like 140K, maybe 150K. Let's just say 140. They change. So this is 1.4 million rubles for a weapon case. At loyalty level 3, you get another barter for a weapon case. And even right now, with motors being insanely expensive, this costs like 900K at most. So you're 500,000 less rubles to do this barter, buying all of these components, than you are doing the Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. If you're thinking about doing that, you can sell your Bitcoins, buy everything you need to do this barter, and have 500,000 left over. So the Bitcoin barter is not one that I like, other than for people that may never get to 30. If you're a real casual player, you hit 20, you're 3 months into the wipe, you know, you're going to be another 2 months before you get to 30, then by all means, if you've got 10 Bitcoins, use this. That is where it is, but it is not cheaper. It's just available earlier. Now, I can't do a barter discussion on mechanic without talking about the Hybrid 46. This is one of my favorite all-time barters, one of the cheapest, best suppressors you can get out there. It is not meta. It doesn't have the best recoil. But right now at 6,000, 6,500, let's say 7,000, I'm going to get this suppressor for 28K if you buy 4 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we spent, what, 6,500 right there? So 26,000 for a suppressor. And the reason this suppressor is so good, it's not great to put on, like if you're going to be doing meta fights with meta guns, sure, go spend your 80K on a fancy suppressor. I'm not going to say don't do that. What I'm saying is if you're using bolt actions, if you're using semi-auto, ergo and weight tend to be more important because you want to ADS longer, at least for me. The hybrid is great for that. It has good ergo. It isn't very heavy. It goes on tons of caliber, so you can just barter for these. I think we get 4 of these per reset. If I'm maybe 3, or we get 3 of these per reset. So you can just do a bunch of these and have them sitting in your container, stored away. And then when you go to do most builds, just use a hybrid 46. It'll go on almost all of the guns out there, and it will save you a ton of money on suppressors. Not to mention, with as cheap as I got that, what do we get this for? 26K. I think I can just go sell it right now and make a little bit of money. So if you're seeing RAM that cheap, yeah, see 39K with RAM that cheap, I can just go sell this thing right now and actually make a little bit of cash. Not much, but just something to point out for the hybrid 46. Now, the last thing on mechanic we're going to talk about here real quick is the SA58. This is a super unique barter. It's not something a lot of people are going to do because it's level 4, but it is a cheap way to get yourself like 80% of the way to a meta SA58. And the reason I say that is you barter for it, you pull off the hybrid suppressor, you pull off the handguard, you pull off the stock, you sell it all, the magazine, you're down to like, this barter costs like 120K right now, roughly, or is it even that? It's 80. What are rat poisons? 30K. So it's like 110K for this barter. You're gonna sell the hybrid. You're gonna take the hybrid off here and either use it or sell it. That's 38K. So now you're back to like 80K. Well, if you're looking at what it takes to get an SA58 built out as far as items, this piece here that you're gonna buy, the handguard you're gonna buy, the barrel if you have a short, because it comes with a 21-inch barrel, as well as the what's the last piece I was thinking of? Maybe that's just it. Those 2 pieces. It's the long barrel is what I was thinking of. But those 3 pieces that give you almost all the way to a meta SA58 for like 80K. You're gonna spend not getting these parts just to get an SA58 by itself, anyways. That's 100. These are not 100. This guy's got a cheap one, but doesn't have the barrel. That one's not 100%. Let me change my filters here so I can show you guys really quick. We'll get 98 because there'll be some in there, but you're talking 70K just to get this, and it doesn't have the handguard, or it doesn't have the dust cover. It doesn't have the grip. So it's just, if you're going to be building meta SA58s, that barter is the way to go. Okay, so I'm already starting to feel like I'm getting long-winded here. We'll put chapters in, hopefully, so you guys can jump around. But Ragman is going to be the next one that I want to talk about, and he has got a ton of barters to mention. So we're going to go through them loyalty level at a time, because this is one of the most important places for you guys to save money. First off is P.A.C.As. If you're doing P.A.C.As, you can almost always get these half masks for like 8, 10K, 9K. If you run out of being able to buy them from him, because he charges 29K for them versus buying them on the flea market, it's just a really cheap way to get P.A.C.As at a low level. And you'll find these half masks all over the place if you don't. Next up is the Ratnik. We all have to do this for Punisher. You're going to be using the 6B47 Ratnik helmet. These cost like 30K, sometimes a little bit more on the flea market. And you can get them for less than 20 sometimes, but usually like 20, 25 by using the Bleach Barter at level at loyalty level 1. It's also a class 3 helmet with ear protection, which if you have no other choice, I would say run this over a penis helmet all day, every day, because of the ergo hits. You look at the difference in what they actually are. Your 1.3 versus 1.5. Half your ergo hits and turning speed penalties. Plus, you can wear lots more ears under this than you can wear underneath the SSH 68, the penis helmet. So after that, there's some other barters in here. Not gonna really worry about them. The next thing I want to bring up on loyalty level 2 is the mechanism. Really big backpack you can get at loyalty level 2 Ragman for not too expensive when you don't have access to anything else, and a lot of other bags are expensive. This bag's pretty good, and you're gonna get it back most of the time in insurance because you can't stack it, so people don't usually take this. So it's a good option there. And then we call them the rat rigs. Some people call them diaper rigs. Pretty good level 4 rig. It's budget. You can get it for like 50, 60, 70K depending on, so teapots are what? Teapots are 30K now, and you're probably 7K. These are a little expensive. So you're talking 60K for a class 4 that's decent. It repairs okay. People aren't going to loot it. You're going to get it back in insurance. And as you get them back, you can actually barter 4 of them for a brand new one as they get trashed instead of selling them if you're down that route. Usually vendoring them makes you a little bit more money. Just something I wanted to point out that's there. I kind of think the recycling crafts are cool. On level 3 Ragman, the Gazelle, super good barter. Super good barter. Gazelle is one of my favorite armors. People say it sucks. It doesn't. This is a fantastic class 5. It's one of your first class 5s you can get at loyalty level 3. Yes, you have some of these other ones, but they're way more expensive. This one isn't too bad.
And then also at level 3 is your Tac Tech. Great, decent little barter. Good class 5 rig. Usually going to get looted though. Level 3 Ragman just has tons of barters, right? You got your level 4, your TV 110. This is fantastic because you're like 80, you're like 110K, sometimes less. It just depends on where Bleach is at. Right now, it's probably 80 to 90K. Sometimes it's like 120. One of the best armors out there to wear at loyalty level 3. It is only 4, but it's got a ton of durability. It's got a ton of space. And they're just great. They're great to run. My second favorite is the M1 rig. I love these for 2 reasons. They repair good, but they also never get looted. People don't usually loot these because they just take up too much space. TV 110 adds space in your bag. The M1 doesn't. The barter is a little bit more expensive. You can drink your aquamarines down and use like 1 out of 50s or whatever and get it, but you're still going to spend like 120,000 give or take on this barter, depending on how you look at it. But still a class 4 before you can do most anything else. Now, also at loyalty level 3 are some of these newer lighter armors. I really like the Banshee. I liked it better before they changed the weight and they bumped weight up. I don't want to say nerf, but they made getting around a lot easier. The Banshee is a fantastic armor. It's right around 80K, 80, 90. It's class 4. It's got decent slots. I love how you have to search stuff. It's got decent slots inside of it. It's very light, movable. You can move quick, and it repairs fantastic with decent durability at 45. It's I wear it a lot when I'm sniping or I'm on woods. I'm not really intending to fight players up close because it does the trick with scavs and things like that. The Baggerly, I despised this armor until they changed weight. The weight change really changed the armor picture with a lot of stuff. This is a class 5. It is steel, so it is heavy. It does have some debuffs on the movement speed thing, but nowhere near what it used to be. But it is absolutely huge on the inside. And me running Grizzlies, I love having these slots like this for Grizzlies. That's what I do. The downside is it doesn't have 1x3s for some of the mags out there. If you're running 40s or things like that, you're stuck with the 2 slots, which isn't a huge deal, but just wanted to bring it up. But it covers thorax and stomach. And again, it's class 5 with 55 armor points. It's going to hold up really well. It usually doesn't get looted because it is big, though sometimes it does. Big and heavy, so people tend to not take it. And because it's steel, it repairs good. Now, I wanted to mention this because it was one of my favorite armors. It isn't anymore. The Strandhog is a decent barter. Now, the problem is it's aluminum. This had a ton of strength to it when the weight changes. I'm bringing this up in case they change weight again. When weight was more critical, this was one of my go-to armors for when I wanted to be underweight because it's light. It's 6.5. It has decent slots on it, so it's not huge, but it still has a place for my Grizzly, has place for mags, other meds, things like that. Covers your thorax and your stomach, but it's aluminum. You get 1 repair out of it, maybe 2. It doesn't repair great, but it's cheap. People don't usually loot it, and so you get it back in insurance a couple of times. And it was really light. So if they change it, keep that in mind that is here. Now with weight system, I probably won't run it very much because there's just better options now that you can be underweight at like in 25 kilos, 26, even at a low level. It isn't as critical for these lower weight armors, but it's there. If that is something you're looking for to get underweight, this armor is one of the best to do that. Now up at level 4, they added a new armor. This is actually a killer armor. The barter's kind of rough because you can only buy 2 of these Thors. They're almost really expensive. Even if I take off my my filters here, you know, you're spending 69, 70,000 even for a zeroed one. Sometimes you can get lucky and find these Thors on fence. We'll see if we see any today. I don't see any right now. You'll see them here on fence and you can get them for like 35, 40K, a little bit cheaper. Obviously it depends on what condition they're in, but this is a class 5 hex grid essentially is what this is. At 50 durability, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. This is a great armor. You're not going to get it back if you die with it. People are usually going to loot it and take it. It is, again, kind of an expensive barter. You're pushing 250K on it, but when it comes to protection and armor, it's money well spent, in my opinion, especially now with the ammo changes in patch 13. And as of the last couple of days, we got some buffs on some of these armors. So, for example, this is now 120 durability. This is 110 durability. These 2 high-end armors, so I call this the Samurai armor. It's the Red at T5. The Gen 4 full, these things are killer armors. They're really good. They're expensive, but if you're running around a factory, you will be a tank with these, unless people are running really high-end ammo. But most pistol rounds, shotgun rounds, you're just gonna take a beating as long as you don't show people your legs. And so these Barters have become recently much more valuable simply because the armor is pretty good now. Also added is the Defender. Though kind of inexpensive, it is a good class 5, especially now that you don't get nuked on your movement and stuff. It's steel, it's 75 durability, but it takes 2 Karuns, so you're about 200k on those at the very minimum. You can buy them for 112. Sometimes you can do the barter for less than that, but not usually. Usually the barter is about 120, plus another 40, 50, 60 for aramids, and then plus another, what's that, 60 for your rip stops. It depends on the time of the wipe, but it gives you a Defender that is a class 5, covers everything, has a ton of hit points, will eat a bunch of damage, at least until it gets shot through by something. I did skip over one I want to mention here real quick on Ragman, and that is some of the backpacks. I talked about them, but I talked about the mechanism, but the tri-zip or 4 ES lamps. So you're talking usually about 60k, 70k maybe. Sometimes as less, sometimes as low as 55. Excuse me. But with the fact that these things cost 75, 80k until you can buy it, the tri-zip is just one of the best backpacks out there. It's big, it's low profile, everything else, if you don't know about it, it's out there. Loyalty level 3 Ragman. Just a great way to get a bigger bag. Okay, so we've been yammering on here. This is a long video, packed full of information. I hope you guys have hung out with me. We're gonna get to Jaeger, and he has some important barters to talk about that I want to mention to you guys. First off, being the dog tag case, they did change this. It used to be thumb drives. This is why thumb drives are only worth like 17, 18, 19, 20k now, because they moved it to this. Again, the dog tag case, I believe, still sells for like 190k. Don't quote me on that. It's either 160 or 190. I don't remember exactly. Point being is you can still make money with this. You get these for like 45k. You get these for like 115. They're kind of expensive right now. I see them pull back to like 110, 115. So try to wait to buy your military flash drives. Then scav vest. I talk about this every wipe. I mention this to people, but you will still see people paying 20, 30k for a scav vest. Jaeger is unlimited. It's one. It's not locked behind tasks. You buy yourself a slicker for 7k. You get your scav vest for the 2 or 3 tasks that you have to wear a scav vest on. Or if you're crafting ripstop later, it turns that ripstop craft into a really good craft. 3 of these gets you some ripstop. You sell it, you make money. After that, we've got on to 2. We've got the Serve 12. Now, right now, these are kind of cheap. The barter isn't great at the moment, but it will get better. These will get more expensive. You're going to see these push 50, 55, 60k. We saw it last wipe. I have no reason to believe we won't see it this wipe. So when you're on Jaeger, you come in, you get yourself a vase. These are usually like 42, 43k. And that's just that. Cheap serve kit. Little bit of extra less cost. Every time you buy one of these, it adds up over a long term of a wipe. Also with that is the TAC 30 on loyalty level 2 Jaeger. 3 Kavasas. Most people know about this now, but at 2 Jaeger, it's a great way to get yourself an LPVO. It's not too expensive. You know, you're talking 50k, usually less, 45 to get yourself a TAC 30. You're limited to 1 per reset, but it is one of the best ways to get these, considering that they cost 60, 70,000 if you're just buying them off the flea. I mentioned the emergency key, the factory emergency key. This can save you money. It cannot. It just depends on where factory keys are at, right? They're kind of expensive. I don't know if they're going to get more or less. I have yet to find a factory key in raid. I've gotten mine from quests. So they seem a lot more rare this wipe than the past. So when you get down to 1 use or 2 uses, you can trade for Urskas. Right now they're 20k. It's the same as buying the key, but sometimes Urskas get down to like 12k and MREs are like 15k. So you can do it a little bit cheaper, re-up your factory key. I just use this because I had some non-found in raid Urskas and MREs, and I re-up my factory key. It's right there for you, so keep that in mind. Sugar, a lot of people don't know about this. Not super important right now, but it will be once sugar starts to get more expensive and you're crafting with it. 5 Amelia Rise, get you 1 sugar from Jaeger. Pretty straightforward and simple. The Holodink, this is what makes these foods expensive, if you've ever been wondering. Great little place to store stuff. I have 4 of these for various reasons I won't get into in this video that I use for crafting and stuff like that. Pretty cheap barter. You can usually do it pretty close to what he'll buy it for, so you're not really losing money by doing the barter, because once you get done using this, or if you don't want anymore, you can just sell it back to a therapist and make your money back with him. Now, loyalty level 3, again, a couple of keys to mention. Yes, you've got the mark room key. Most people know about that. But this Goshen cash registry key you need for a task, it's here. If you can't get it, if this thing ends up being really expensive on the flea market or not even there, which sometimes it is, you can do the barter here for not too much money. Maybe 120K. It's all over the place because these can change prices pretty drastically, but that's there. Along with the Ollie Logistics Department office key. This used to be one of the most RNG keys that locks so many people behind their tasks. For Ragman, you have a barter for it now here on Jaeger. Keep that in mind. The Red Rebel, don't buy your Red Rebel. This Red Rebel costs 4 million rubles usually. This barter, while it does take space because you need to be able to fit 15 propanes, you can almost always do this barter for like 1.2 to 1.5 million. So it saves you a ton of money, and it's on level 3 Jaeger. So if you get there, go for that barter instead of trying to buy your Red Rebel. Now at loyalty level 4, you've got a weapon case barter that's halfway decent, especially if you're burning through refuel and you're getting your pistol cases through the barter versus buying them. This is a second best way to get a weapons case, in my opinion, versus the mechanic one. It's here. Just wanted to point it out. Also, the thick weapons case. I do these as soon as I get them. Buy your ammo boxes off of mechanic for cheap. Get 2 weapon cases through your barters. Turn it into a thick case. Fantastic upgrade for the slots in your stash. I think last wipe I ended with 3 or 4 thick cases just because it's easier, because you can put guns with suppressors in them. It's a convenience thing. If you can get there, it's there. But also the sick case. A lot of people ask about this. It is only on Jaeger 4. This is the only way you can get this. And I run tons of them. Out of convenience, I have one for the maps. Not every map, but I have one for customs, one for reserve, and one for shoreline. I run docks cases on other maps for just different reasons, or like reserve, I run both. Expensive barter. Especially with paracord pushing 60, 70, 80K. You know, you're talking anywhere from, on the low end, $1 million, on the high end, 1.5, 1.6 million for this barter. But it pays in the long run with being able to take a ton of keys, be able to take out dog tags, and all the stuff that goes in a sick case. I have a video explaining the difference between the sick case and the dogs case. If you're interested, go check that out. We'll put a link down in the description or something for you, or put it at the end of the video for you to watch. But we're done. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll wrap her up there. I wish you the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you guys in Tarkov.